new bipartisan effort to boost American innovation on everything from manufacturing to high-tech jobs. At the same time that China is looking to exploit political divisions in America for the benefit of, well, themselves on the world stage. Let's bring in right now a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Republican Senator Todd Young of Indiana. And Senator, you and in this bipartisan bill reminds me much of how the United States responded mid-century to the challenge of Sputnik. And of course, the investment that we made not only in technology, but also in education. It created a generation of the most gifted minds, whether you're talking about engineers or scientists or mathematicians, that really changed our economic future and created an economic revolution. Tell us, is that what you're hoping to do here with Senator Schumer and others?
That's precisely what we're attempting to do, Joe, and thank you for having me on. This is our new space race. This is our opportunity as a country to harness our greatest national assets, which are our people, our talent, the dynamism of our economy associated with our people. And the only way for us to win that race, however, is to do what we did in winning this space race. It's going to require some investments from the American people in cutting-edge 21st century technologies, things like artificial intelligence and robotics and quantum computing and genomics and various high-tech areas to ensure that the United States of America makes this century the second American century. This should be an opportunity at the very time that the Chinese Communist Party and other authoritarian regimes throughout the world are looking at the United States and emphasizing how divided we are as a country, politically, civically, and on so many other fronts, for us to unify behind this effort and thwart the Chinese by out-innovating, out-competing, and outgrowing them, to really go on offense as opposed to being on defense as we have for a number of years with tariffs, with rip and replace of technology for many of our partners and allies. We can go on offense against the Chinese, working together with partners and allies, and demonstrate to the world at this moment, if we can pass this Endless Frontier Act, that we are unified on this issue.
Yeah, and Senator, I loved your tweet yesterday where you said just that. We face a pivotal time in history. Right now, the Chinese Communist Party is emphasizing to the world that the United States is a divided nation. But you are so right. With legislation like this, if Republicans and Democrats can come together and invest in this country, it not only helps our economy, it not only makes us more competitive, but you're right, it sends that message not just China, but also to Russia and our other rivals globally, that we're not divided when it comes to the most important things.
That's right. You know, technology has always been a strong suit for our country, but the Chinese Communist Party is spending hundreds of billions of dollars on innovating in these areas. Many of these areas, like artificial intelligence and quantum computing and hypersonics, of course, have military applications. And if our liberal democracy, if our system is going to not just survive, but thrive and be seen in other parts of the world, as opposed to the illiberal regime that the Chinese Communist Party is trying to not just protect, but also export to other countries, well, then we're going to have to outgrow them, because ultimately our military power, our ability to exercise leverage when it comes to diplomacy, is dependent on our economic strength collectively through our alliance system. So as we develop these technologies, Joe, we have the opportunity, in working with our allies, to also set the standards for each of these technologies. Otherwise, it's the Chinese who set the standards, and they can find back doors through these technologies. They can steal more of our stuff. They can take away our jobs, which they've been doing for decades. They can be undermining our wages. And in the heartland, part of the appeal of this Endless Frontier Act is that we'll be seeding some tech hubs across the country so that we harness talent, not just on the coast, so that's very important, but instead, where there are existing areas of expertise in places like Indiana and other states across the entire country.
Senator, it's Willie Geist. Good to have you on this morning. That's a bipartisan effort. As you mentioned, you're working with Chuck Schumer on that. I want to ask you about some more bipartisan work you're attempting to do on the infrastructure bill. I know you and a group of, we can call them moderate senators, met yesterday to talk about a way forward. Mitt Romney was in the room, Susan Collins, Dick Durbin, John Tester, Joe Manchin, among many others. What was the discussion like? Obviously, we've heard from Mitch McConnell that Republicans will not vote for the plan put forward by the Biden administration, $2.2 trillion. They don't like raising the corporate tax rate. So what's the discussion yesterday? And do you believe there's a bipartisan way forward on this big infrastructure plan?
Well, I do think there's a bipartisan way forward. In fact, we've already passed some surface transportation bills through the United States Senate just in recent years. We have water legislation that's been crafted in a bipartisan way that's been passed through the Senate. We could look to past precedent and see how some of those things have been funded through government subsidized loans, through various types of user fees. We also have a very important opportunity to take a look at some of the funding for the pandemic. Much of that funding was absolutely needed, but in my home state of Indiana, just to take one example, there's $2 billion at the state level. There's millions of dollars, even across many of our smaller municipalities, that frankly is not needed to address the pandemic as we emerge from this horrible situation. So some of that money might be dedicated towards infrastructure. So usually that's where we get hung up. It's not on the major traditional infrastructure priorities, which is what this discussion and what this package would consist of. It's how we pay for it. And I think some of the things that I mentioned present real opportunities for us to come together in coming days, I hope, at least conceptually, on legislative framework.
Senator, we really appreciate you being here. Before we let you go, let me just ask you really quickly about a bill that we've been talking about this morning that Tim Scott talked about yesterday. Obviously, the country's eyes, a lot of people focused on Minneapolis and what comes after Minneapolis. Is there a possibility, as Senator Tim Scott said, for Republicans and Democrats to come together on a police reform bill?
There is. And gosh, let me commend Tim Scott for his incredible work trying to find that sweet spot where R's and D's can come together. As he's, I think, emphasized maybe on this show, he's not trying to come up with his ideal piece of legislation. He's trying to come up with a piece of legislation that we believe will solve many, if not most, of our challenges and can actually get signed into law. And that's what legislators do. So among the elements we know we agree on, for example, is to prevent some police jurisdictions from losing officers, not reporting their bad records to other police jurisdictions. We can help facilitate that information so that bad officers aren't being shopped around from one location to another. We can give body cameras or ensure that more of those body cameras make their way out into the field, thus giving the community and many police officers more confidence as they carry out their work. We can make lynching a federal crime, which would send a very strong message at a time of incredible racial discord and ferment right now, and anxiety for a lot of Americans. So these are among the punch list of items that are part of that piece of legislation, the Police Act. And let's build on that work. I know Senator Tim Scott's not done with that and still engaged in conversations, and I support him in those efforts.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.